Beautiful Chaos is a collection of raw, honest poems about motherhood, capturing everything from pregnancy to school age by best-selling author and Instagram poet Jessica Urlichs. And with International Women's Day next Friday, I thought it was timely to chat with her tonight. Hi Jessica, where have we caught up with you tonight?
Hello, I'm in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I'm
Yes.
specifically coming to you from my bedroom. I have a very light sleeper. She's 17 months old, so I've got the door closed.
So I believe your writing journey began on Instagram. Tell us how it started.
It did. So after my second child, I was just starting to feel, I had obviously a lot of feelings. I wanted to make sense of
Yes.
everything that was going on because motherhood is messy and it's beautiful and it's all these things. I was the first of my friends to have a baby, and so, and I've always loved writing, but it was something that kind of went on the back burner for a while.
Did you
And my
notice
husband
all of a
actually-
sudden you and your friends, things were a bit different?
Yeah, I did. Well, I just sort of felt like, I mean, I had changed, and I didn't really know
Yep.
who I could talk to about that because, yeah, I was the first one with children. And yeah, my husband actually said, maybe you should get back into writing again. And that's when I started to share my poetry on Instagram.
Because you started writing at 5 or 6, didn't you, poetry?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, pretty much as soon as I could hold a pen, I began to write poetry.
And becoming a parent just made it so that you had to get out what was inside.
Yeah, it's a bit like journaling. I think as soon as you write something down, specifically writing with a pen, something about that process is just so much more cathartic, and it just helps. It just helps make sense of things for me. And I felt like as soon as I started to put that out into the world, I created this really lovely community as well.
Now, you've said you hope making sense of the messy will allow parents to feel connected. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there's this stigma around motherhood and even just parenthood in general that we need to enjoy every single minute. But I think that you can go through some really, really hard times in parenthood and experience some pretty intense lows, but you can also absolutely love being a mother and absolutely love your children. So I think talking about the lows and letting people know this is normal, what you're going through, and two things can be true, helps us feel connected.
Now, one thing comes across in Beautiful Chaos is how relatable the poems are. What kind of subject matter do you cover?
Pretty much all from pregnancy to school age, because that's where I'm currently at the moment. So just really like this outpouring love that we feel, but also talking about how sometimes we can miss ourselves through that as well.
Now, in that time from birth to school age, which was the worst time for you?
Oh gosh, I mean every season I guess is challenging. And, you know, it does get easier in some ways, but then also it just gets different. I think the hardest part for me was definitely those first few weeks of my firstborn, because it was all so new. And yeah, it was a beautiful time, but it was also a really hard time.
Was it a stressful time in your relationship, and do you write about that?
Yes, I do. I actually do have quite a few poems in there about the change in relationship and the dynamic that you feel, and just like how it kind of you go from holding each other's hands to all of a sudden just holding these gorgeous little ones, and then you kind of like become ships in the night and you sort of forget about each other, but yeah, it's like you miss them and they're right there. So I do speak to that as well.
So how did you come up with the concept for the book?
Well, actually, I have self-published poems previously, and I was approached by Penguin, which was such a dream come true. So yeah, it was actually just them that came to me, and from there we created this.
Now, a lot of the poems from the book feature on TikTok, and we're going to listen to one now.
It's often said I am made for this, though sometimes I'm unsure, because a mother wasn't waiting in the girl I was before. She didn't lie in restless slumbers, memories made of night, and when the sky's outfit would change, she'd struggle to see the light. She didn't know that nature could be placed upon her chest, how watching them grow was a type of calm that meant she would never rest. So though they say I was made for this, I'm not sure I agree. It wasn't I that made the mother, but motherhood that made me.
Brings tears to my eyes.
No.
Tell us about the poem and what it means to you.
I think, that's just an extract of a much longer poem, and it's titled Mother in Waiting. And really what it is it's just about how I feel like becoming a mother for me was almost a catalyst for my growth. And I feel like I've become a completely different person and a better version of myself since meeting my kids.
Do you think that happens? That happens to women, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that we are still ourselves. We're still who we have always been. We might still love the same things, but I think that our children teach us so much. You know, we think that we are here to teach them, and then I think we're quite pleasantly surprised as we go through life. We're like, oh my goodness, you know, they ground us so much.
Yeah. Now, in the book, you say that becoming a mother, you were reminded that ordinary, everyday things are extraordinary. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, well, I think as well, just like pretty much what I was saying, like they remind me of that often, and it can be just getting caught up in the everyday. We find it so mundane sometimes, and we just think that every day is a repeat, but then so much is new to them. I mean, all of it is new to them.
Yeah.
They are our greatest teachers.
You find yourself
joy in simple things.
You find yourself looking through new eyes, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. They bring so much colour just to the everyday.
And you're drawing from your personal experiences in these. Do you look at other parents' perspectives?
No, I tend to not do that. It is always personal. I sort of feel like the soul would be left out of my writing if it wasn't.
And as your children get older, do you think it'll make your own writing evolve into the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think we evolve and we're always growing alongside our children too. And I'll always share my poetry from the postpartum days because I know that there's someone who will need those words. But I feel less and less called to write about the phase of my life now. It's as they get a little bit older, I'm just so much busier. But, I mean, we'll see. I have no idea where it's going to take me, but I'm excited to not know.
Looking at your early poems, the early ones you were writing before you were a parent and all of that, through the eyes of what you're writing now, what do you think of the person who wrote them all those years ago?
Oh, gosh. I mean, it was such a long time ago that I actually used to write poetry. And there are some similarities in how I write now. I tend to lean towards nature a lot, and I incorporate that in a lot of my poetry still. But now, I don't know, I think I come from a very raw and vulnerable and tender place. Yeah, it's a little bit different in the way that they've kind of like cracked me open, I think.
And you're not afraid to be there in that place?
No, exactly. No, not at all. No, I love it.
Now, before you go, listeners can check out your writing on many social platforms. How can they do it?
I think the easiest way would be just to find me on my website, which is jessicaurlichs.com, and all of my social links will be there.
And they can find Beautiful Chaos on Motherhood, Finding Yourself and Overwhelming Love at all good bookstores?
Yes, all bookstores and most online retailers as well.
Oh, gosh. Like best-selling author and Instagram poet Jessica Urlichs, it's been great to talk with you tonight. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.